Welcome to the Narrowing Path, walking the spiritual walk. My name is Stephen Anderson. Welcome back for the reading of February 4th from James Allen's Daily Meditations. Really been a good month so far. Again, it's been eye-opening. A lot of things I can agree with from my own experience. So it's been again invigorating and stimulating a lot of conversations and thoughts for me. And it's reminding me of where the actual power lies in my life. And that's always a good thing to be reminded of, because of the way I think I've thought most of my life anyway, I tend to fall back into that sometimes. So it's been a great couple of days here in February, and also January is fantastic, but to just be reminded of how to live your life going forward. So looking for some more spirituality. So let's see what February 4th has to bring us from James Allen. To them that seek the highest good, all things subserve the wisest end. He who clings to self is his own enemy, and is surrounded by his enemy. He who relinquishes self is his own savior. He is surrounded by friends like a protecting belt. Before the divine radiance of a pure heart, all darkness vanishes and all clouds melt away. And he who has conquered self has conquered the universe. Come then out of your poverty. Come out of your pain, come out of your troubles and sighings and complainings and heartaches and loneliness by coming out of yourself. Let the old tattered garment of your petty selfishness fall from you, and put on the new garment of universal love. You will then realize the inward heaven, and it will be reflected in all your outward life. All glory and good await the coming of obedient feet. I love that. I really, really love that. The first or second line, he who clings to self is his own enemy, and is surrounded by enemies. He who relinquishes his own savior is surrounded by friends like a protecting belt. That just reminded me of when I got sober, what I ended up doing in general was switching my will from just being a self-serving will, a will of selfishness and self-centeredness, doing what I thought was going to benefit me only. It might benefit others, but my sole reason for doing it was my own personal benefit. It switched from doing that to using my will to be of service to good and other people. Doing the right things, using my will to focus on doing the right things. Those are the honest things, the loving things, the kind things, the hopeful, the faithful, the courageous, having integrity. It's having discipline. These are the things I've focused my will on doing, and being of service to what is good and right and truthful from what has been taught to me and shown to me. This is a whole different way to live. And what it does, when I can practice it thoroughly, when I can practice it wholeheartedly, as much as I'd love to say that I am able to do this well, and not use my will to serve selfish ends, I can't say I do it all the time. I still am selfish. I still am self-centered, and that's the work I still need to do. But when he who relinquishes self is his own savior, when you can finally take yourself and put yourself aside, and not do things for ego and out of fear and insecurity. It's a whole different world. It gives you that ultimate freedom that we talk about, and that freedom from yourself. 12-step programs call it for the bondage of yourself. When you have to do things that serve yourself just so you feel better about yourself in a way that's unhealthy, like going to the gym, eating healthy ways. Those are good things to be of service to the body you're using, the body you're in. That's a part of you. It's not serving your ego necessarily. But then also using your will to serve your family, to be the best son, daughter, brother, sister, father, mother, aunt, uncle, nephew, niece, cousin, right? To be the best one of those that you can be to your family is difficult and different for a lot of people. It was for me. And then being the best employee to your employer as well. Now, there comes a balance with this, though, because people say, oh, you're just turning yourself into a doormat, and that is not what happens. Because when you become of service in your life to everything, that means there has to be balance. There has to be balance. You cannot let your job use and abuse you so you can come home with nothing to yourself and your families. You have to be able to be of service in every area of your life. So sometimes being of service and being loving towards other people is letting them know you have boundaries and things aren't okay to be done. And that's a whole nother conversation. That's an entire podcast in and of itself. But I think it's important to realize that when you change your will, he who clings to self is his own enemy and is surrounded by enemies. He who relinquishes self is his own savior and is surrounded by friends like a protecting belt. Your boundaries pop up. Your relationships with others improve substantially because you're doing things on an altruistic and a loving plane of existence rather than a selfish, what can I get from you? You build genuine relationships and friendships with people. And that was new for a guy like me. So the next part, before the divine radiance of a pure heart, all darkness vanishes and clouds melt away, and he who has conquered self has conquered the universe. What a huge statement that is. To get to a point where you feel like you have conquered self, or you know how to maintain a selfless position. What a freedom that is. What a beautiful thing that is. And the promise here, he has conquered the universe. Come then out of your poverty, come out of your pain, come out of your troubles and sighings and complainings and heartaches and loneliness by coming out of yourself. Get out of your own way. Get out of yourself. Quit focusing on yourself. That was a concept I had to learn. I didn't realize the only thing I thought about was me for the longest time. I didn't realize that every action I took was in reference to me. Now that sounds weird. It was a weird thing to realize for me that I was constantly self-centered and constantly only thought about myself in relation to certain actions, never others-centered. And I think a lot of people end up in that loop. Then they realize thinking that it's the natural place to be. But those are also the people that become submersed and tormented by depression and misery and anxiety. And to be trapped there is very painful. It was for me, at least. Let the old tattered garment of your petty selfishness fall from you and put on a new garment of universal love. That's what we were saying. That's what this whole thing was. This trying to maintain this petty garment of self. It's like, I'm going to care only about me and what happens with me and how things affect me and what I need. And when I can actually be loving to others and give of myself outwardly. How does he say it? New garment of a universal love. Suddenly, you'll be clothed with something more magnificent. You'll have something you never was what you were really looking for this entire time, but it doesn't come the way we think it would come. It's a self-defeating idea, really, that we have. And it's not necessarily intuitive to go to others first, to give to others, to be of service to others, to find that contentment and fulfillment in life. Living that spiritual way of life. You will then realize the inward heaven, and it will be reflected in all your outward life. When you do these things and you change and you operate in a way that's purely based out of love for other people, suddenly your inward life changes and then your outward life does. What a beautiful thing that is. Thank God for that. Then it ends with like a little looks like a 2-line poem actually. All glory and all good await the coming of obedient feet. So those that practice the spiritual life, regardless of circumstances, regardless of emotion, all glory and all good await. For those obedient to the spiritual living, glory and good await you. What that looks like, who knows? Who knows what it looks like in your particular instance, in my particular instance. But it is waiting, and I believe that. So, we're in along today, almost 12 minutes, but I appreciate everyone jumping on with me. This one was fantastic. I can't say enough about these readings and these meditations. So, great one. Thank you for joining me, and I will see you all for February 5th. All right, until next time. Thanks.